Hello and welcome to Plan to Paint. It's a Friday again, so that means a fun wet on wet technique. Today we're going to be attempting to paint a zoo, essentially. A small zoo, a few animals, and it's a complete experiment, so we'll see how this how this goes today. Man, my voice. Sorry about that. I apologize. My throat didn't want to clear. So I made a few changes this week. One is upgraded the panel size. So this is an 18 by 24, and it's not stretched canvas today. It is a hardboard panel that I put 3 coats of gesso on, and we'll see how that goes. Today I am using the primarily De La Rowney Georgian oils. I do have some Winsor Newton artisan paints on order, so a lot of the future paintings will be done with the Winsor Newton paints in this technique. So right now I'm just mixing up some oil into some titanium white, and it's not quite runny enough yet to be our runny white for our base layer. So I'm going to add a little more oil to this. Got quite a big block of paint here. Since it's new time on the larger surface size, I don't know how much paint it's really going to take, so I put up probably more paint than necessary today just to be sure I don't run out. And this isn't the whitest linseed oil. It's just refined, Gamblin refined linseed oil. So if you were to do a lot of white scenes, snow, you're probably going to see some yellowing over time. That was one of the criticisms I've read of this technique, is that over time some of his paintings, especially the snow scenes, would want to yellow a little bit because of the amount of oil that was used to create the liquid white. The oil and the solvent. But since this is just a base layer, very small amount of paint left on the canvas, and the clouds and other things are using more of a straight titanium white, I don't think you'll see as much yellowing. And we're going to use some bold colors today. This zoo scene's more of a painting I would suggest would fit well in a nursery or a preschool. Assuming it turns out. I'm not going to be using a lot of knife work today and painting a few things that I've not tried to do. It's going to have some perspective and have a little less depth than what some of these big landscapes try to capture. So, lots of new today, but we're going to have fun anyway. And you can see this is get to be a pretty runny consistency now. Not run on its own, but it's very thin. So it should spread pretty well, make a nice even coat. Let's see here. Clean off the knife. Get a little bit of this oil that's going to run off my palette board here. Alright, so we're going to start by picking up some of this white we just thinned down. And we're going to coat the entire surface with this base coat. And if you've painted along with me before, you may have already done this step and ready to go to the next one. That's okay too. We'll try not to spend too much time on this. Just get it on there, get it smoothed out. And the thicker this coat you put on, the lighter it's going to make all your painting on top, because it's going to blend in, and that's part of the advantage of the technique is that it allows you to create various variations in your paint and highlights by how much you just blend into that layer below. So if you don't want a lot of blending, make sure you make this layer as thin as you can. If you want more blending, it's okay to leave it a little bit thicker. But it'll help your paint glide along the painting as well as you move things around. Now on these panel boards, the paint actually doesn't sit in place quite as well as on a canvas, so you get some movement on paint just on the dry panel board, but adding this wet layer should definitely enhance that effect. Just a little bit more here. So I've got my layer on, so now we're going to go back and forth and up and down multiple times. Just try to make it a nice even coat. There's some spots here I can see where I don't have paint drawn in yet. And soon we'll be getting to the good stuff, actually laying in the scene. We're going to go with a lot of blue in our sky, and maybe a couple of clouds. I'm trying not to flick the brush at the end so that it doesn't spray paint all over the place. Got some other paintings here on this wall behind me, or beside me. I don't want those getting splatters all over them right now, and computer sitting off to the other side here. So I'm trying to be soft and gentle. One day maybe I'll have a larger studio space and I won't have quite that worry, and I could just hang a few curtains around and catch that paint. But for today, gotta work with what we have. Alright, so we have a nice even layer. I'm going to switch to a separate dry brush. I'm going to bring down some ultramarine blue. Load the brush up with it some. Starting at the top corner, we're going to start laying in the blue. We're going to leave a few spaces for some clouds. And we're just making little crisscross strokes. And as you pull down more into this paint here, you'll see that it automatically just lightens. So pick up one more of the blue, start in that corner. Because we're picking up more and more of that liquid white layer, running white. Now we're going to kind of fluff around the clouds, just give them a little swirling motion at the edges, because they're not usually that blocky. We'll come back in with some white on the edges. we're just gonna go across very lightly. Try to get some of that paint off the brush here. And go over it again with the light strokes and blend again. And I don't use solvent in my process, so I don't dip my brush in some paint thinner and beat it all over the place. Alright, just got a little bit of clouds kind of peeking through here. We're going to actually go ahead and strengthen that effect a little bit, taking our fan brush. And we're just going to pick up a little bit of the titanium white, a little bit of the liquid white here. Get a decent amount on there. And starting at the top, we're going to play our way down. Some swirls. Get some new paint on there, some swirls, kind of working our way down. This picks up a little bit of the blue and gives the clouds a little bit of a bottom shadow cast. I'm just kind of dabbing on a little bit here. I'm going to go back to another dry brush and just use the corner. We're just going to kind of fluff these a little bit. Kind of pull up. Not getting the corner quite how I want. Now with our sky brush, go lightly over top of that to blend it all together again. Very lightly. Alright, so we got some clouds in our sky. Actually, I'll take that fan brush and a little bit of white up and go over that again, just really lightly. Because I kind of wiped it out a little bit too much here. Break up this streaks that went through when I tried to push too much pressure on the brush, and it didn't hold the paint in place, so it pushed too much paint around. By the way, kind of solidify those back up again. So I've got this kind of planned out in my mind. We're going to have some distant pine trees back here. Then we're going to have just a huge tree right in the center. And then some walls and a couple of enclosures with a couple animals in there. And we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to take this fan brush, pull off as much paint as we can. to bring down some white. We want these to be fairly fairly light. They're going to be distant, so we don't want to go straight into a green. These are just going to kind of, yeah, definitely don't. That's not the right value, right hue. Blue. These things tend to blue in the distance a little bit. You see, you've got this kind of almost a gray. It's a little bit green. Only in some pine trees. You gotta imagine in your head what is this a hill going up or down? What's the land lay like? And I'm just kind of imagining a variety, just kind of a little bit of a rolling hill back here. Some of the trees are a little fuller than others. We're just going to kind of do this the whole way across, because generally zoos are kind of stacked into a city. And there's some dividing foliage that they do to kind of give it a backdrop separate from the buildings and houses in the background. Break there, maybe there's a road that passes through there. And the trees, they don't need to all look the same, they shouldn't look the same. Just similar, so you can know that they're pines. It's kind of washing out a little bit, can't really see. Apparently my light's too bright right here. I'll have to work on that. And we'll put a little indication of some trunks in there. Just put down a little bit of black, a little bit of sienna. We'll just use the liner brush to pull these in. Don't really need much detail, just not too much. too much of the background here. It's really lighting out that stem, that trunk. Back to our brush, we're going to just pick up a little bit of the lemon yellow. I'm just going to add a little bit of highlighting on this side. Not so much on the other side. Gonna have our light coming in from the right side of the painting again. And again, these are just kind of off the distance. There's not a lot of detail visible here, but just a small little touch. Alright, so now we're going to actually put in, there's going to be a brick wall here. So I'm going to pull down some, you know what, that is a problem. I did not put the, lay out the crimson. Sorry about that. Picked up some crimson here. And so we need a red brick color. So I'm going to start with some crimson. I'm going to add some cad red to that. Make a little more of a generic red. Still want it to be more crimson than bright red. We're going to put in a little bit of the burnt sienna in there. That might work. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the sienna. And for the furthest part of the wall, furthest from the viewer, we're going to add some of our liquid white to this. It's going to go a little bit pink. We're going to use this lighter variated value because it's further away. Some of the color's lost. So we're going to take a little bit on our knife. We're just going to draw in a little bit of a wall here. And it's just going to go the whole way across. And you know what I'm going to have to do? I think I'm going to be better off if I scrape out the wall before I lay in the brick color. This little wall doesn't look real tall because we're not real close to it. I'm just going to scrape it out the whole way across. Probably ought to go up a little bit higher since I didn't bring these trees down. I'm going to have to go back in and bring that tree down to the wall or it's going to look a little funny floating out there in space. But just go ahead and remove some of that paint so that it's not going to blend quite so much. We want it to stay our red color. Want the red to show. Just lay it on there. Leaving a little space, I'm going to put a little bit of a gray cap on it. And what I'm doing is just laying in some red at the top, and then I'm kind of just pulling it down. Create little wall sections. And try to keep it somewhat straight. I mean, they went ahead and leveled this wall out before they built it. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. The walls will follow with however the land's contoured. But we're going to have this at the top of a hill. So let's get some cap put on there. So we're going to take a little bit of the black, our liquid white, running white, make a kind of light gray. Come on. Too much black. This down across just to get nice even, and we're just going to cap this. Kind of laid it on there. As I said earlier, I gotta bring these down. They're not floating out there in space. When you see there's a problem with your painting, you just fix it the best you can. Alright, so we got our wall. And we're going to use this as a perspective point. So we're going to kind of come from here, kind of down. Yeah, kind of have a bit of a walkway here. But we have Primus front and center, or way back in the top of the hill. It's a huge tree, kind of laying out the center of the square. I'm going to take some of the burnt sienna and add some black. I want this to be kind of a dark brown. I'd use Van Dyke brown if I had it. We're going to bring in a little bit of oil with this. Just grab some with my brush and kind of blend in here. Just to be a little runnier, hopefully it'll stick a little better. We're just going to start huge tree. Got the brush loaded up. I'm just going to drawing big limbs on this tree. skipped a step, so I'm going to go back yet again. I'm going to bring some sap green down. A lot of times along these walls they've got a nice greenery that they like to edge everything with. Zoos usually have pretty decent grounds. It's usually a lot of I'll go right over top of my tree, so I'm just going to draw that back in. We don't want this and usually it's a lot of flowering grasses and got that. Picking up some cad yellow. Got some highlights in there, more towards the top right side, since that's kind of where the light's coming in from. And we're going to take up a little bit of this cad red. You see my palette's kind of getting pulled out. I'm going to have to make some room on it. Just going to add a few little flower indications in here. Just very lightly, and a tap on there. And we might want to have some bright red and some blue, so we'll get some ultramarine blue in here, a little more white, a little more red. We're going to make some pinks and some purples. Alright, back to the tree. This tree's got some big old roots it goes down into. I'm going back in and getting more paint, because as you drag it down through, you're picking up the blues and the whites that are already on the surface. Make sure everything connects up alright. There's got to be a limb back in here. So we've got this tree kind of anchoring the zoos, all built around this big old deciduous tree. So we need to add some highlights to the I'm just going to use the knife to do this. Just going to gently touch these roots are. lost in the shadow there. Some highlights along some of these branches that are just kind of picking up some light out here. Alright. Lightly draw these down so that they're a little bit of a blend here. I don't want the hard edge. Okay. Now it needs some foliage. I'm going to go back into that brush we were using up here for some foliage. I'm going to bring some sap green in. I think I'm just basically going to go right with the sap green. And we're just going to start putting at the corner of the brush, just tap in some foliage, little leaves on all those branches. It's the thin little branches out at the ends that tends to hold the leaves, so you get there's some back in there. But most of the leaves tend to be out towards the edges. So we're going to keep our leaves out toward the edges. Darken these up in here. You just got to stick to how you drew the limbs in, however you decided your tree looked. There's some limbs going out the other directions on the other side of the tree, so you'll have some seemingly floating foliage out here. Now I'm going to try to clean off as much of this as I can off of this brush. It looks like I picked up a little bit of red in that process. I'm going to bring up some cad yellow into this. We're going to use this as our highlights. Again, sun's coming from this side, so we're going to start with that. Looks like I need to bring in a little bit of my liquid white here. So a real bright green. A little bit less on this side, kind of out on the edges here. Or it might be catching a little bit of light. So now we've got a walkway that comes around this tree. So we're going to need another wall here for the enclosure for the first animals. So we're going to go back to our palette knife, clean off what we had from the trunk. Pick up a little bit of the darker red. It's going to be very dark by the time it gets to the front of the painting. We need to decide. Looks like right in here. I have some wall. I had some computer difficulties earlier. I had pulled up some references to use for the animals. I had to restart the computer, and crunch time, didn't have time to actually pull those references back up. So these are going to be from imagination from memory, which I often tell you is not a good idea, especially for professional art, which this is not. This is practice and for fun. This will probably never make it hung up anywhere. Maybe in our kids' playroom. I'm putting kind of some scoring lines in there, represent a little bit of individual bricks. And as it's a pretend zoo, the enclosures really won't keep the animals in, they're just there to separate them out logically. I'm not trying to make realistic looking. As I said, this is more a piece for like a child's nursery. And a piece to play with. Just trying some new techniques, new object types. You know, building a brick wall. Put the brick pattern in here a little bit if you want. I'm going to go back and pick up some of that gray. I'm kind of making a mess today. A little more paint and play than I'm generally used to here. Cement cap on this one too. It's gonna be good. And if you were really representing, you can put a little bit of shadow on the, put your gray so that your darker gray is on the bottom. And have a little bit of a shadow from the cap coming over top of the wall here, but I'm not going for that level of detail. Mostly a nice tree, a couple of animals. That's what I'm trying for right now. So for our first animals, I'm going to take some yellow ochre. We're going to do a giraffe. So I'm going to bring in some of this liquid white from up here and my yellow ochre. Giraffes tend to be a little bit lighter. So that I don't get too much of that red in there. It'll turn distinctly orange. You're already getting some orange in there. Alright, so I'll brighten them up with some yellow. Some cad yellow in there, kind of make them more of a yellow. I want them to be bold. Doesn't have to be exact. We'll pull it down. We're going to use the same get a roll of paint on the knife technique. I better scrape out his space or he'll blend in too much. So he's going to have his head, he's pretty tall. His body's going to be, yeah. Really needed to probably painted this one through first. He's not walking on water. He's going to be walking on grass. Alright, so these enclosures probably ought to have some grass added in. Make it friendlier for the animals and brighter for the kids enjoying the painting. Oh, what nice it would be to have the undo button, right? Just like digital. Adding some highlight lights in here. Different grass, catching the light a little differently. Breaks it up a little bit, a little less monotonous. But leave lots of the dark in there, you don't want it all to be the same value. Alright, so Giraffe's gonna be standing here. He's got his back up to his neck here. He's got his little leg. His front legs. And then he's got a long neck. And that's how we know he's a giraffe. I want him to be bigger. Go bigger, Jim, go bigger. Here. Kind of have to imagine what it's going to be before you actually lay the paint in. And we'll see what he comes out as. Get his little tail. Alright, so we're going to pick up some of this yellow ochre mix. We're just going to lay it in. He's got his ears. Little knobs on his head. Be careful with the knife. Come together here, and then he's got his legs, so he's standing here. Yeah, didn't get that roll. Right on the edge of the knife, so he can have his tail. And his leg's gonna come around. Alright, so we're going to bring in some more yellow, cad yellow. We're going to make a lighter value, more yellow, and that's going to be his highlights. So his back is in full light here. And of course the back of his neck. Tip of his ear. Maybe the top of the side of his face here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of a brush here. Just Gonna lightly kind of blend this edge a little bit, just to bring him all together. Pick up some. Just give him a little bit of a bushy tail here. A little bit of shading on his underbelly. Separate his legs out. And then he's got little markings, so he's got and of course he's got his nose and an eye. A little bit of dark in his ears. A little bit of dark around the back rump here, and some more markings. Alright. A couple of markings on his neck up here. A little bit of fuzz. A little bit of a mane. So. This is why you're not supposed to work without reference. Alright. But we're already flowing and we're going to keep going. So on the opposite side, we are going to make an elephant. Or some blob of paint that's supposed to represent an elephant. The elephant's not quite as tall, but he's still a big animal. We're going to scrape out some space for his body. Elephants have knees, front and back. One of the few animals that actually do. And he's got his head, big ear. And his head comes out. And he's got a snout. His trunk's going to curl underneath. And then we'll give him some white tusks and a bit of a tail. Placement is a little bit off, obviously. We're just kind of winging it here. We need a nice gray for our elephant. We're going to bring some of this black down. He's going to have a little just straight up gray. And use some darker and lighter gray values to give him a little bit of form. Got them all together here. Alright, clean that off and pick up a roll. And we'll just start with his head. Big ear. Yep, this isn't the best technique for doing these, but they can be. He's got his face. Wow, Jim. Definitely need a reference for this one. His trunk comes down. Face here, this little mouth here. more into his body. His body's a rounded body. So we'll just pull it down. If you're painting along, hope your zoo's coming together nice. You get to choose what animals you put in your own zoo. You don't have to be making the elephant and the giraffe in the same fashion that I am. So, despite what some people want to think, this is not... What I'm doing here is not trying to educate. It's more just entertaining. Spending some time giving you guys some ideas and things to paint that you don't have to come up with on your own. And just enjoy watching paintings come to life. I'm using the small edge of the knife to lay in the trunk. And then we'll pick up a little bit of darker values, and his ears are going to cast a bit of a shadow on him. One of the ways you know they're there. And his belly's going to have... The underside of his trunk is going to be a little darker, his belly's going to be a bit darker. Because not as much light's going to get under here. Based on our light coming in, he's actually going to have a little bit of darker on his rump back here, kind of the one leg he's got back here. That's kind of on the other side. We're just exploring today, what can you do with the knife? If you wield it much better than I'm wielding it today, you can do quite a bit, I think. A little darker eye, I think. Make it round. Got a little bit of a mouth here, and he's going to have some tusks. Let's get this darker in here. Gonna have to blend that out, that's for sure. We're gonna give him some white highlights, kind of. His back's out here in the sun. Just gonna kind of pull that down into the more gray. A little bit on his forehead. Shining out here in the light. And down the front of his face. I want that to stand out a little bit more. And then he needs some tusks. Alright, I'm going to take this blending brush. Clean it off a little bit. Try to go with a more brown gray. I'm just going to kind of clean up some of this. He's got some wrinkles. Just gonna blend this out a little bit. Especially right in her hair. He also has a bit of a tail here. Alright, so we got a giraffe, we got an elephant. Now we need to separate them off from the remaining animals. So we have another section of wall here. Make this one even more vibrant red. I keep coming across from where I made it lighter into the darker and darker values here. Bring a little more of this in. Now that I got that mixed, I gotta go scrape out the walls. And as they're closer to you, they start looking taller. In theory. What I like to do after I paint these that are, they're experiments, I'll stand back and I'll analyze it and I'll say, well, what should have been better? How could I have taken the same technique? What would I have done different to improve the result? And try to keep that in mind the next time then that I'm try to use these the same similar elements into a painting. And we also didn't actually enclose these. Close up their enclosures with the wall. I'm going to do that here. And really, this section you're going to see is the gray cap. I'll go ahead and put a little bit of the wall in just so that it's visible. This connects here. Get a feel for the perspective a little bit here, I think. At least it's fun. It's fun to be able to put things onto a canvas that people can make sense of. Like, yeah, I know what that's supposed to be. The downside to doing stuff the first time on camera, everybody sees the bad results till you work out all the kinks. Figure out exactly what it is you got to do to get the result that is you're trying to achieve. So it's a couple of other iconic zoo animals. I think we're going to go with a lion and a zebra. I think they'll work well with bold colors here. Trying to keep the walls about even on the side to side. Alright, so we got this nice little enclosure for them. They're not going to run away on us now. And we're going to go back and... Don't want our zebras standing on just concrete and dirt, so we're going to give him some nice deep foliage as well. What I'm trying to do here is show that you don't just have to draw mountains, paint mountains and seascapes. You can go right into various other things in life. You know, people are like, well, you learn this method, all you learn to do is paint what you painted. And it's like, no, you're learning a tool, a technique to paint whatever it is you want to paint. And if that doesn't always mean you know what you want to paint, but you can paint with it, so you got to try some things. What can I paint with it? Okay, I want to paint a zoo. Can I paint a zoo with this technique? And the answer is yes, you can. But it's probably not the best method of painting a zoo. If you wanted to do one to hang on your own wall, you're probably going to want much more detail on your animals that are in there. Really bring the animals to life, which, like I said, this is more for a preschooler, you know, kind of as a neat, oh, there's a zoo picture in a child's setting. One thing I've left out of here, I think I probably ought to add in here now, is what do people walk on in this zoo? So we got our tree here. We don't really want to get so much shade. It's probably not going to have a lot of green growing in here. We're going to give it some don't really want water showing up in between there. We got some shaded here. Wow, don't like that blue peeking through. As we make more blue show up. Alright, we're just gonna put in a nice little tan, bits of green growing in. Just got a dirt trail here for people to walk on. Leave a little rough by the tree there. Broken up, they don't have people walking on the roots right there. Pull this straight down, and then we'll go back in and pick it up. So. Yeah, you gotta watch picking that up. Lightly go over this, trying to move out some of our brush strokes. Just kind of we've got some shadows coming off of this wall here. going to be darker on that side of the path. And this other side of the path is going to be picking up some light, so I'm going to want to lighten this side a little bit more. Alright, better get to these last animals. We're getting close on running out of time. So I think first we're going to scrape out our lion space. He's going to be right here, a big mane. Square nose. And he's going to be laying with his tail curl around. He's going to be laying on this big old rock. You're going to have to wash this shirt when I'm done. Now we're going to start with that rock. Make that rock pretty dark. So he's good. And we're just going to lay that right in there. We need some highlights on here. And the sides facing the light, and there's a little bit here. Just wherever there's not shadow. So more facing the light here. This kind of sticks out a good bit here. Even rock here. And down here we're going to pull this and pull it down. Get some shadow. We're going to put in his mane first. We're going to give him kind of a bright orange mane. the edge of the knife here and kind of make it a bit shaggy, especially laying down this way. Alright, and now we're going to lay his face on. We're going to go into the similar color to the giraffe, actually. He's got his nice square snout. And his face. He's kind of scraping too much here. Ears. Right now you can't make anything out of this, so just kind of one value, and then we got his body. It's not looking different enough from the mane to really make out that that's the mane, huh? So we'll be adding a little more red to this mane. That's showing here, and we'll do that with a brush. He just sits here and takes up this whole space. A bunch of yellow for his highlights. And his ear here is going to catch some light. This front of his face is going to catch some light. Other ear's catching some light. His forehead's catching some light. His paws out here are going to be catching some light. Back gonna be catching some light for sure. And his tail. He's gonna be getting a little bit of light on this paw too, which you can't really see in here. That tells you I'm not doing a very good job with this. Just that this isn't a result that I would say that I'm actually very happy with. This paw coming out here. To give some more depth, I'm actually going to bring down a little bit of black and sienna to mix in with the yellow ochre, so I can add in some shadow values to them. I didn't start with a dark enough value to just use the darks with the highlights on top. To just part of the technique of the wet on wet that Bob Ross uses. He lays in shadow dark values and then just lays highlights on top of it and you get your form. But I didn't leave enough variation for that, especially for the creature here in the front, the lion. But I'm going to clean off our knife. We're going to go switch back to the brush. And I'm going to go right into some bright red with what's already on the brush, which is the grays from the elephant. Get some bright red built into the brush, and then I'll go into my orange that I did for the mane initially and bring that a little more red. We're just going to tap some of this into his mane. A bit on his tail tip. that you can't really tell is his tail tip. Tip of his tail. And now, clean as much of this off the brush as I can. Pick up some of this yellow ochre mix, because I'm going to go and try to lightly blend over him and bring down the snout values a little bit here. Represent his ears a little bit better. His whole face here. Yeah, that's not gonna work. And this isn't working because the detail should be getting more obvious as the viewer is closer, the objects are closer to the viewer. And we can see that that's not what's going on here. So I'm going to mark this up as definitely could use more practice, definitely failing in my intent here. But we'll go ahead and finish this out. The best we can. Snout. Sockets. I'm actually going to gonna give him a green eye. I think he'd like to have a green eye. Why not? I'll give him a bit of a red, more red on his, towards the end of his snout. Red and brown mix here. And a little mouth line. And the good news is it looked so much better in my head. Alright. I don't think anybody's going to know what that is, but you'd be surprised. If you're still with me watching me fail this one, thank you for continuing to paint along. This went completely south. On this side we're gonna put in the zebras, and zebras kind of are little horse with big ears. So, do you and your families like to go to the zoo? Do you have a zoo nearby? We're actually members of our local zoo, and I know a lot of people give zoos a bad name because these animals are wild, they should be out and free. The truth of the matter is, most of these animals, a lot of them are born in captivity or rescued from the wild, and would probably otherwise not really be alive. Nature is not a happy place. As much as people like to romanticize it and think that it's such a wonderful, everything's good out there that's wild. Nature is very much survival of the fittest. And a lot of these creatures that get injured, they're no longer the fittest, so they would not be having a good time of it. Alright, so we're going to use some white to bring in the base layer of our zebra here. And for what I want from a result, I really should be doing this as more of a direct painting or a traditional painting method. But practice alone would definitely have improved my result, because I'm doing something completely new, using the palette knife on top of wet surface to try to lay indications of these animals. And it's cave painting quality. But true enough, we wouldn't know as much about those cultures without those cave paintings, so they do have some value. But this painting isn't likely to see much of the life of much time in the sunlight, because it is not a good it is not good. At least by my standards, I would not call this painting a good painting. But you got to see it all live, how it came together and then how it fell apart. Yeah, what makes zebras unique? Wow, this guy's really slanted. Bring him back up here. Is there patterns? And look at this and going, what am I going on here? Why does he look like he's leaning so much? Alright, so he's very green right now. So we're going to try to bring in some more white and brighten him up even more. He did it, Jim. He brought his ears together. Again, working without a reference is usually not a good idea. In this case, proves the point. So this horse shape is actually kind of getting away from me here. But the interesting thing about zebras is they have a pattern. And I probably should use the liner brush for this. It's going to have a nice blue eye. Why not? Although I don't think their eyes are actually blue. Oh my. Okay, so we're gonna give him pick up some gray, we'll give him some gray around his nose. He's got his nostril here, a little bit of a jawbone here. His underside actually is going to be darker here. He's going to be not catching so much light down here. This is actually going to come across. Because that's this other leg on the other side over here. And it's going to be catching a lot of shadow from his underbelly. Lay that gray on there. Come on. He had a leg going back this way here. Wow. Can't really tell what's going on here. Now the fun part. You see a painting not coming together, a lot of times it's just better to stop till you figure out what it is that went wrong. You can fix your process. But since I'm painting here with you guys, we're just going to keep going. And even though I know that it's not a good result. Just kind of a little bit of a mane here. I don't think he's coming out that great, but put on our final wall and our final walkway down here, and we'll sign it, and we'll be done. We can stuff this one in our closet, never to see the light of day. No, I'm just kidding. I'll let it dry, I'll let it grow on me. I notice sometimes first look at a painting of mine, especially when I'm working on, as I'm working on it, and knowing what mistakes I'm making, and all I see is the mistakes. It's just... And after a while, if I step away from it and come back to it in the several hours to a day later and look at it, I'm like, you know, I guess it's not as bad as I thought, but you know, this is still wrong with it and that's still wrong with it. But that immediate emotion of, wow, this is just so horrible, kind of fades a little bit, and then I can evaluate a little bit more objectively. Not a lot more objectively, but a little bit. And so this one, for what it is, might grow on me, it might not. But I learned some things along the way. Things to do, some things not to do. So we can see here, I did not get enough of the green paint clifted, so my zebra has a very green tint to him, or her. You can decide whether it's a him or her. In the grand scheme of things, for this painting, it does not matter. But if you get to do on a very detailed painting, it very much might matter. So keep that in mind in the future. If you're making detailed zebra paintings, knowing how the details should be can make a big difference. But ultimately, at the moment, I'm not happy with how this one has turned out. But gotta set reasonable expectations. I'm doing a process I've never actually done before. Trying to create animals and brick walls and stuff using a technique that I am nowhere near a master of. We can make that look a little bit. And do the same on the other side. Can connect this up better. I never did go back in and put that gray cap on, did I? Probably ought to. You notice I also did not scrape out this wall. You can see I'm picking up a lot more of that white. This certainly is not fine art. I'm making no thoughts that it is. It is an oil painting. It is just not a fine oil painting. And we're going to go ahead and draw in some lines here, individual bricks. Gotta be able to laugh at your own work sometimes too. Keeps you from going crazy. Alright, so we're gonna do some gray cap on here. goes the whole way along. Alright, going back to our walkway. And we're gonna lay in a nice little, it kind of comes around, people tend to walk around there. Yeah, I think we've used all the brushes, which means cleaning is going to be fun. And there should be some variation in here. You can put some stones or whatever in here. I'm not going to bother with the result of painting it the way it is. Just put little stripes in here so there's some variation going on. Back and forth lightly, break it up. We don't want too many distinct lines. It looks kind of funky. And this looks like a painting by someone who has no clue what they're doing. And it's not too far from the truth. I've been painting for a little over a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half. Coming up on a year and a half here. But I've had some training anyway, and training was not in this technique at all. So this is really just play. And there's things that could be added. You could add some benches in here, and we're gonna go back in and get some nice dark foliage right along here. Just using the bottom corner of the brush and making some, tapping on some foliage here. And it's not sticking the best, so we're just gonna do what we can do here, and we'll add some a nice little edging I like to do. And I think we want some bright purple growing in this. Let's see if I can get a nice bright purple here. Probably need to use a different brush, one that has blue on it. Some liquid white. Marine blue, more bright red. I think we're getting a purple color here, purple hue. Alright, so with that, we're going to tap in some little butterfly bushes along here. Alright, with that I think I'll just sign this one and we'll wrap it up for the day. So, thank you for joining me. Our next direct painting we'll be doing on Monday. It'll just be a full alla prima, small 8x10 on a hardboard panel if you want to prepare. Likely going to be some floral pattern. I do want to do some start getting into some Halloween themed stuff. I like Halloween a lot. It's just a fun holiday. Not everybody's favorite, but adding some red highlights in here. Make his me a little more distinct. Yeah, I think in general we can tell what everything is. It's not certainly at all a good detail, but if you enjoyed spending your time here with me today, make sure you hit that like button, and if you want to be notified of new videos and live streams, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil in here. Thin this down more into a ink consistency. I think we'll just drop it in on this side. Signing my name seems to take a good bit of time, especially on the wet and wet, because I tend to want to run right in and blend in. And it's long enough that I understand if you're not longer with me here because you want to see me sit here and sign my painting, but bristles all frayed out on this one. To pick up paint instead of dropping it on the canvas, and even thing it down, it helped, but we're almost there. Too big of a glob there. That was just going to leave a complete mess. And we'll put the year on it. Why not? I like to have that on there. Sets its place in time. And then when I look back through my closet of paintings that are hidden away, I'll be able to see the progress and know when that was. Actually, this one will be available for sale at some point. It'll just have... Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining me. Hope to see you on Monday. Or even next Friday if you're only interested in these wet on wet style paintings. Next time we will do another landscape. It seems to work very well for this technique until I get better at it and do more play on my own rather than in front of the camera. But welcome